Hey, how's it going? Hope you're well. Rob here. In the back of the van, I've got the Cube Stereo Hybrid 160, and this looks like it could be the best bang for buck e-bike that you can get, because it's £3,999, and that gives you a carbon fibre front triangle, 27.5 inch wheels, 170mm travel, RockShox Lyric Select fork, and a really decent list of components on it. I tested the 140 last August when it was released, and I thought that it was a outstanding value for money e-bike, and there's so much interest in the 160 for the rider that wants to have that little bit more travel, that little bit more ability to hit something a bit more gnarly, like bike park kind of stuff. And I think this with the 27.5 inch wheels will feel pretty awesome. So I'm not going to review it just yet because I can't really ride properly in the UK at the moment. We're still on like semi-lockdown. So what we'll do is we'll just have a quick look around the bike. We'll go through all the bits and pieces, and if you've got any questions or there's anything you want to know, put it down in the comments below, and when it comes to the review, I'll try and get it all in there. Oh, by the way, I got this new van. It is the E-Wagon, the ultimate E-Wagon. It's a Volkswagen Transporter, and I can fit like 7 or 8 bikes in the back. I'm going to get power, so I can charge all the bikes in the back as well, which would be really sweet. But let's go and park up and we'll check out the bike and take a quick look around it, and let's see what we think. So in the Pirate Dungeon, also known as my studio, a load of comments on people like the lighting, people don't like the lighting. I am playing around with it to try and work out the best kind of look for the studio, but it's I've got all the lights on at the moment so we can see the bike. So let's take a closer look around. Here we go, Cube Stereo Hybrid HPC 160 SL in this really nice, like stealthy kind of murdered out black. It's a good look. I really like this matte black carbon frame. 22 inch. They rate all their bikes in inches, which is kind of old school. But I guess it's the equivalent of an XL. It's the biggest one that they do. Reach is 480, so it's not massive. It's not massively modern for what is kind of pitched as like an enduro bike, with its 170 fork and 160 travel at the rear. But 480 is not tiny. I can quite comfortably ride it at 6'3", 190 centimeters, but I'd rather it was a little bit longer. Some bikes now are going up to 500, 520 mil in reach. So if you've got a long torso, you prefer a long reach for stability, this isn't like a massively long bike. So it weighs in at 24.33 kilos. So it's not a super lightweight. 24 kilos is on the heavier side, but this uses the most basic components in terms of the lineup from SRAM. So some quick and easy upgrades you could do would be like the cassette on the rear if you wanted to. I mean, 24.3. This is XL. An XL obviously is going to weigh a little bit more, but 24.3. Seat tube height is quite high as well on the XL. This here, depending on the size that you get, the seat tube height increases, so it's quite long, meaning that if you do like the dropper kind of like totally slammed and out of the way, you can't fully move it out of the way, but carbon finish is really nice. It's really neat. I like the kind of tones that they've got on there. It's like a very dark gloss black along the top just here, and then like a matte black along here, and you've got the stereo logo there. So the Bosch Motor came out in July, August time last year, and it's a very good motor. It's got loads of power, and it's right through the cadence range. It maintains that power delivery. I only really ever use it in one mode, which is EMTB mode, which is really responsive to the torque that you put in through the pedals. So the only downside that I've noticed on all of the Bosch bikes, and I've not yet noticed it on this because I've not ridden it enough, is there's a slight knocking sound when your pedals level and you're kind of freewheeling down some really rocky terrain. They all suffer from it. It's not just this. But don't let it put you off. It's not an issue. It's just a noise that is there, and it's inherent to this Bosch motor. But it's a very good system, very powerful, 75 Newton meters of torque, but it feels, to me, close to the Bosch Motor. I'm not quite sure the peak mechanical watts that this is putting out, but it's got a decent amount of power. With this bike, at 3999, carbon 625 watt battery, latest generation Bosch CX motor, it's just represents fantastic value for money, like insane value for money. Less than £4,000 for a carbon bike with a 625 watt hour battery is, yeah, I don't know if there's anything that kind of beats this in terms of value for the spec that you get for the money that you pay. Let's take a little bit more of a look around the bike. Cable routing is internal, and then it goes down the frame, and then it actually pops out just near the chainstay, just there. And the battery is secured in just under here. This is like a rubber plate, noise kind of bash guard just for stones, pebbles, all of that kind of stuff. And the battery is secured in under there. It's pretty snug in there. Cube have done a good job designing the battery tray to hold it in. Let's move around to the front, and the forks on this are RockShox Lyric Select. So for 2020, RockShox updated their product line, and they have a Select, which is the entry level, and then a Select Plus, which has the Charger 2.1 damper, and then the Ultimate. This has got the this hasn't got the 2.1 damper. I believe you can, if you want to, upgrade them to the 2.1 damper. In my experience at the moment, it works all right. 35mm stanchions. You haven't got any low speed compression damping. It's just 4 or 5 clicks. So it's a more basic damper, but honestly seems to work quite well for what I've ridden it so far. I've not really fully tested it, like I said. 27.5 inch wheels, and these are Cube's in-house wheels, and Schwalbe Hans Dampf on the front and the rear in 2.6. Decent tyres, pretty good. If you wanted to step it up a bit, you could pop a Magic Mary on the front, so you get a bit more grip for some like bit more hardcore kind of enduro stuff. But in the summer, that's pretty good. I found it all right. The stem on this is pretty long, actually, like really long. It kind of looks out of place. It's about 60 or 70 mil, and I reckon they've put that on there because the reach of the bike is quite short, and I think they've tried to make a little bit more space at the front. Doesn't really offend me too much, but it is fairly long. And then it's got the old school Bosch Purion display, which is actually far easier to control, far more ergonomic than their newer one. Some other brands have been speccing this because it just is easier. The buttons on here are massive. It's really easy to see, and the newer Kiox is really small with loads of buttons on and quite fiddly. So a lot of people prefer this. I think I prefer this ergonomically. It works really well. Dropper, Cube's own in-house branded dropper, really smooth, nice actuation on it. And the bars are made by Neumann, which is a German company who have made some really good quality kit actually, at a really reasonable price. The battery compartment is quite chunky. It's quite a big down tube. It's quite a, you know, it's pretty chunky, but it's got the Bosch 625 watt hour battery in there. RockShox Deluxe Select shock. So that's the one up. They do a Select. Select Plus is the mid-tier shock with 160mm travel on the rear. So the rear chainstay, seat stay and chainstay, the rear section of the bike is aluminium, and then it's a carbon front triangle. Dropper is Cube's own dropper, and it's got this little saddle, little neat saddle on there. So drivetrain is SRAM NX. This cassette is, they're quite heavy, the cassettes actually. One of the upgrades, if you want to save some weight, is to replace this with an X01. It's a couple of hundred, 250, maybe 300 pounds, but it's a good weight. You almost half the weight. This is like 600 and something grams, so fairly heavy. And NX rear mech. and the shifters are NX as well. And the brakes are Magura MT30, and they're really good brakes. They're a bit more plasticky compared to the MT5 and MT7s, but in terms of the power's like really good. Loads and loads of power through there. And just head round and show you the caliper. It's got a nice neat, the Magura calipers look really well machined, nicely done. Other angle, non-drive side. And you can see I was talking about the cable routing just here. It's down the frame, pops out here, and this is the dropper post, which just goes back into the seat tube, and then the charging port, the Bosch charger. It's just down here. Again, this is a little bit flimsy. Hopefully that's well water sealed for the UK, but it just feels a little bit lightweight. And you can see the brake hose just goes down the chainstay. Speed sensor. The magnet is one of the old schoolish magnets, which is on the spoke. A lot of people I see, they buy a second and stick it on the front wheel just in case this gets misplaced or falls off or breaks, so you've got a spare. And then the speed sensor is just in there. You can see it knows how many rotations the wheel's done over a certain amount of time to work out your speed. So there you go. I mean, £3,999 for a carbon 170, 160 travel e-bike with RockShox Lyric, RockShox Super Deluxe shock, carbon frame, 625 watt hour battery. And you got to say, haven't you, this is an outstanding value for money bike when you look at the spec. Now I have ridden it like 3 times just on local trails, but nothing that like really challenges this type of bike. So over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to get as many rides as I can in. We'll take it to loads of different locations, take it to Bike Park Wales as soon as that's open, and try and like get the most out of it and see what it's like, and I'll share all the good stuff with you. If there's anything that is not so good, I'll share that with you. So make sure you're subscribed. If you like this, let me know with a thumbs up. Let me know all your questions and comments down below, and I'll catch up with you all soon. All right, take care.